I slightly disagree with Professor Ravi Korisetter. When we talk about Harappan civilization, we are in a better position when we compare ourselves 100 years back.
And when we talk of Harappan civilization, we should not think that the entire subcontinent was part of the Harappan civilization.
I'm here with Professor Korisetter and Professor Prabhakar, and one of them is a specialist in prehistory and one of them is a specialist in Harappan studies. So, as a specialist in Harappan studies, in relation to Professor Korisetter's feedback on prehistory, can you please tell us about your specialization and also about the new book that you recently published?
When we talk about Harappan civilization, we are in a better position when we compare ourselves 100 years back, right? When it was discovered and announced. So we have a lot of work that have been done by various universities, state departments of archaeology and Archaeological Survey of India. So now we are in a better position. A lot of scientific studies have also gone into that. We know the evolution, we know what was happening since the 7th millennium BCE onwards, how settled human life contributed to various kind of technologies, and that how culminated in the Harappan civilization. So I also see a bright future in the Harappan studies because many more students are coming forward to work in different aspects of Harappan civilization, and also there are a lot of collaborations also being happening, be it DNA studies or sophisticated scientific analysis. So in the context of my book, I have tried to compile whatever data is available so far, whatever studies have been carried out, and in a way it's a kind of a textbook. I aimed it as a textbook for the students so that they can refer it to in the class and maybe use it for their exams. Along with it, I have compiled whatever data is available so far, the sciences, the scientific techniques have been used. That way I have tried to do that.
Okay. And maybe a general question for both of you. We have prehistoric research on the one hand, and then we have the Harappan studies on the other hand. How can we now bridge these two disciplines and do time periods? Besides studying the transition through Neolithic evidence, is there any other way that we can kind of interconnect these two time frames and the archaeological evidence, interpretations, research questions? Any insights on that? Any major gaps that need to be filled?
There are gaps between these two areas of research because Neolithic has continued in the subcontinent right from 9,000 years ago, and that laid the foundations for later day developments in some specific geographical area. Because the problem with our subcontinent is it's a very diverse, internally diverse, environments, network of environments and so on. And when we talk of Harappan civilization, we should not think that the entire subcontinent was part of the Harappan civilization. So there is a specific culture area, and within that cultural area, you have this Harappan civilization flourishing. And as we understand, it did not spread eastwards even after 1900 BCE. It was more looking towards western part of that particular part of the geography, Southwest Asia to Central Asia to northwestern part of the Indian subcontinent. I think that forms one cultural area where there are antecedent developments in terms of very early Neolithic, and then later Chalcolithic, and then the Bronze Age, and then the post-Bronze Age, which we always think that there is a post-Harappan situation. Right. But actually, it is a continuation in a transformed way.
Okay.
So eastward spread is represented by OCP culture. And then westwards, we have this Bactria marginal cultural complex, archaeological complex, or whatever. So we see both spatial and temporal continuity rather than a decline or transformation. And so.
Okay.
So there are other factors which we need to take into account to understand these transformations. But otherwise, there are no gaps, as I understand. For that at that time period, India was only that northwestern part of the subcontinent when it comes to early urbanization.
Okay.
And then the rest of India was prehistoric.
Right.
Contemporary with the urban civilization.
Right.
So the Neolithic and hunter-gatherers, all, until about 2500 BC, we had this great diversity of juxtaposition of hunter-gatherers and also early agricultural societies. By about 2500 BC, we see that major part of the Indian subcontinent was witnessing the development agro-pastoral settlements and so on. So identifying this kind of gaps, I don't think stands
Right.
its test of time.
Right.
Yeah.
And from your Harappan perspective, Professor Prabhakar, do you have any kind of explanations or theories about why we have different transitions? For example, Western India, it goes from Mesolithic straight to Chalcolithic, where elsewhere we have Neolithic prominently. Do you have any insights on that, Western India versus other parts of India?
I think basically it depends upon the environment, the climatic scenario, and how particular river systems worked and how the humans also exploited that kind of environment. I think that helped a lot, and that also coincides with a lot of climatic changes which is happening, and we see a lot of evidences from the Mehergarh region, right? How it evolved from a kind of hunter-gatherer societies to settled human life, and ultimately contributed a lot to various kind of technologies. But when we compare the same scenario with other parts of India, maybe certain preconditions they were not met.
Right.
So that's why they could not progress into a state level society. So ultimately these kind of preconditions, they were also met in other civilizations, and that's why we have certain models how state level societies emerge. And I think in the case of Harappan civilization also, that is true. I slightly disagree with Professor Ravi Korisetter when we say the Harappans transformed into OCP. I mean, there's no OCP comparable in terms of a late Harappan culture. Bara culture is more comparable to the Harappan community.
From the Shivalics.
Yeah.
Yes.
OCP is always ingrained in our brain.
Yeah, but OCP nowadays it is projected as a, Sanoli is being projected as a OCP. It is not at all. It is a Bara complex of the late Harappan complex. And of course, transformations occurred throughout the time. It depends upon the, again, climatic situations, how they were evolving, and how certain climate induced developments, and they were also inducing certain transformations. And that is true in the case of Harappan civilization.
Very insightful. Lots of things to think about, many questions raised, and wonderful, exciting days ahead. Thank you very much.